This is an information session. I had a feeling that this is the way it would be based on there's just not a lot of, there's not a lot to give updates on. I will give some updates. I kind of asked Ryan if I could just kind of take the lead. I had a feeling that this wouldn't be very long. We're continuing to work through things. I know that continuing to work through things with the fire department, continuing to work through things with the police department. Some things are in limbo right now, but they're a lot less in limbo than they were when we started months ago. So since we do have one person here, this is an information session. I'm not trying to put you in the spotlight. Is there anything, what's your name?
Donna.
Donna, hi Donna. Is there anything in specific you want to hear, or were you just here to hear an update? The reason I'm saying that is,
Yeah, just here for an update if
Okay.
there's anything.
yeah, there's not a lot. They're coming up with the interior plans. We did have this scheduled, so we decided to go forward with it. We thought possibly or I thought and had reached out to Ryan thinking, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of people because I think people are more at ease with where we're landing. We're gonna end up landing on Hartridge Drive at the vacant site. Hartbrook, I'm sorry. Hartbrook Drive on the vacant site. That's where we're gonna end up at. But that's still going through the motion. That does not mean we own the land. That is still going through the process. I'm just saying with 98% certainty, that's where we're gonna land. That's where I think we'll be able to work with Waukesha State Bank. I think it's okay to say in the public, correct? We did receive the assessment. We went and had an appraisal done. We had an appraisal done. We have presented that to Waukesha State Bank. They have some time that they can look at things and decide how they want to proceed. They can go and get their own appraisal, and then we sit down and we can discuss things. But we're still going through that process. Waukesha State Bank still owns it, but we're most likely going to land there. But I don't want to jump the gun because Waukesha State Bank deserves to have us sit down and talk with them, and because we do want it to be a good relationship with them. It'd be wonderful to have a branch here in Heartland someday. And at the same time, they do, and we're not trying to take it without making them whole. Okay? So there really isn't a lot of updates, and I don't want to drag the information session on for the point of dragging it on, and I apologize for misspeaking on the street. Thank you guys for correcting me. We're still going through. There still is a need for fire. Obviously, I understand that's not at that location, the hot button location. There still is a need for police. They're working through the interiors. There's really not a lot to update on other than that we are going to land at that site.
So what's going to be built at the bowling alley site?
That would be the Heartland Police Department, and then there's a community room like what we have now. We've backed off on the rec center.
Okay.
That doesn't mean nothing we'll never have a rec center in Heartland, but right now that's what we're dealing, and administration. So there will be we had made some updates a few years ago to this room, but admin will be there, meaning your village manager, your rec director, DPW director, the staff that works upstairs, our clerk, that will be there. Elections will be held there. So that's what's going to go at that, and that'll set Heartland on the course. And a lot of us, have spoken, you know, there are things in the community where people have said, well, that's really stupid of you to say, Jeff, it's going to be here in 50 or 75 years. Who cares? I'm not going to be around. Well, I personally don't agree with that. I don't think that I would be being a good elected representative of the people if everything I did was to just say, oh, I'm only going to be here for 30, 40 more years, so let's just do that, and then they can fend for themselves after. That's not how a good community gets built, in my opinion, and I think that a lot of the people on the board think that. What we live in now is because of, you know, decisions that were made in the past, and we continue to make those decisions, which will benefit the people in the long run. Heartland will still be here. So those are some comments that I saw come up, but if you guys want to add anything, you know, the trustees want to add anything, there just isn't a lot of updates.
Now, you might want to just mention the time frame. They have 60 days to respond and all that.
Yeah, they have about 60 days to respond to us with that appraisal and get their own, and then that can lead to us, in that time frame, we can negotiate, talk, you know, go back and forth, those kind of things. And then after that, kind of what happens is we just kind of take the property, but they get presented with their money to be made whole. The appraisal that we received, I can say that, correct? I mean, that's out there. No? Okay. We received an appraisal. I think it's a fair amount for them, but we may go into negotiation, so I won't say the amount. And we talked about this as a board. You know, we're still shooting for, this doesn't mean there's a guarantee because we made a hard number at 30 million or under for both projects. This isn't just for that one building, for both projects, including fire. That doesn't mean we're not still shooting for that. It's just much more difficult to attain that goal because we're now purchasing property. But we're still going to shoot for it, you know. But we know that's much more, it's more difficult to hit, but it's still possible. But we won't know until we get to the point of pulling the trigger, depending on what the economy and all of that is doing. So price of goods, things like that. Since we have such a small crowd, anything anybody else wants to hear? The brief update I got was that there's really not a lot of updates on Hartbrook Drive. We will end up at the vacant site, I can say with 98%, 99% certainty, but I don't want to put my feet in my mouth and take anything away from Waukesha State Bank. We respect them. We want to give a chance for us to be able to sit down and talk with them. We want them to feel that they were made whole and that they were justly compensated for their property that they own. So right now, the eyes are kind of on the 60-day time frame, and good sitting down, good conversations with them, spending that time doing that, and then everything would get flowing to you know, make that building a reality there. Any questions from any of you, or anything that you want us to touch on? If anybody has anything to add, I understand. Yeah, is there anything that you want to say?
I think the only updates that we really have is we did quite a few revisions on the sites. So obviously, you know, we got the PD over here. The building changed quite a bit in order to make it more efficient and try to save on cost when we're looking at the constructability. So been working very hard on that with the confidence from the board. They had felt comfortable to move forward with some surveys. So now both of these sites we'll be able to actually see those surveys, especially with the fire department. I mean, we've been talking about floodplains and challenges. I mean, it's been a known thing. We do the best we can, but we need that data to really make sure we're all in this, you know, we're going in the right direction. I feel confident we are, but once we get that, I mean, other than that, I'm hoping that we can get the inside starting to lay out. Now that we got the exterior, you know, site sorted out, we're progressing forward. It's been a little slower here, but I think we're really picking up the speed now. Now that we got the sites, we got everything kind of settled out, and it seems like we're really picking up speed again, and hopefully we get everything laid out. So not to reiterate what Jeff was saying, but not a ton of updates, but we're moving in the right direction, I feel.
Just because there's not a lot of updates doesn't mean these guys are working very hard, but they're working with staff, making sure everybody has what they need. Obviously, the departments, especially PD and fire, have some very needed updates. Or at least I believe they feel they need them, and the studies we've done show they need them to put us where we need to be to provide the services to Heartland that all of the residents deserve.
When are we gonna have the ability to see what the inside?
Could you just take the microphone? Only because they're recording it so people can watch it on YouTube.
When will we have the ability to see what the inside is gonna look like? I know you have to determine the outside before you can get to the inside. When would you anticipate that being available?
I would think before the end of the year, what is it? I mean, it's November, so maybe end of November, but I would think by December. One of the challenges is once we start with the inside, it's better to show it when it's done from the staff and all those other changes. So I feel pretty confident we're getting there. The site changes and all the changes that we had initially really kind of, I don't want to say, it feels like we're going a little slower than maybe what we should be, but I feel pretty confident before the end of the year we'll have some solid floor plans to start showing.
And then Jeff, are we gonna have another meeting like this, or is that just gonna be brought before the village board meeting to present what that's gonna look like?
Based on the attendance that's here, I will obviously consult with other people on the board to ask if someone felt it was important to have a separate meeting. We would do that based on, we're gonna feel that out. Based on the amount of people that are here, maybe we could have even done this during a village board meeting, but we had already scheduled it. We wanted to keep our word so that people can get the important updates that they, deserve. I don't know the answer yet. I have a feeling if there was anything major where we're gonna have quite a few people and there's gonna be a lot of questions, like let's say something starts going on when we do get down to the nuts and bolts of the money, we may have another session and open that up so that people can ask questions. So at least us as board members, and we're representatives of the people, can say, this is why we're doing what we're doing. And one thing that I've extended, and we've talked about this and everybody's gotten along and agreed, but having the department heads and the ones that are really steering the ship on the needs, but also the ones that are affected to provide the services to us as citizens, allowing the chiefs and others in their department to say, this is why we need this. This is why my job is difficult right now, so we need this. Because I feel that it presents the importance of those things. But yes, we're not gonna just, because one isn't scheduled, we're not gonna say, let's slide this in there. It would be very known. The village, I believe, has done a very good job. I don't know what you guys think of putting it out on Facebook and making sure that it's known on the agenda of, hey, this is going to be the next time this comes up. I mean, if it was up to me, I'm not going to guarantee this, but we would try to tell a month ahead of time and say, hey, we've got the insides done. Here's the meeting that it's going to be at. And maybe we do another one of these and maybe have where people can sit and ask Devin, how does this work? And why is this? And what's that? And even people saying, what material is this going to be? I mean, you guys do deserve, we're all paying for it, so we do deserve to know. So I would expect that there would be another one of these at some point in time. I just don't know the exact time frame, but that does not mean to stop looking at the agendas, because there may be certain updates that come forward to clear things. We had one already where we had a certain gated area, which you don't see on here anymore because it's not on there anymore. But where, that's part of the process. You know how that is. It's if you've ever painted a room, you might start with 10 different color schemes in your mind and you end up landing somewhere, And everybody does that differently. Some people paint little squares on the wall. Some people just take the swatches and tape them up. There's no perfect way of getting there. We will get there, but we do want people to see as we go through. But things will change. Honestly, even once we get going, things can change. All of a sudden you can be building and it's like, oh, we need to add a door here. I'm not saying that you don't want that to happen, but those kind of things come up, I think.
Yeah, I think, and to kind of jump in here, the big thing for me is if something significant changes. So, I mean, this site is significant. I mean, that's a huge, huge change, and I think it's something to bring attention to as we progress. I think the board has done a great job keeping everyone informed and just trying to make sure everyone's aware of what's going on.
And on that, I just also want to say, if anybody has like a specific question or they want to see something, I do encourage you, either call Ryan Bailey, the village manager, call the police chief, call the fire chief. They're not gonna, it might be a little while before they can get a meeting, a few days, or if they're out of the office, that kind of thing. But feel free to call. We are, and they are happy to answer your questions. So what I'd like to do is there anything, Chief Misko, anything that you want to touch on, or, and I'm going to do the same for fire also. I should have just had you guys sit up here, but sorry, didn't think of it.
I don't think at this point there's, to what's been going on, I don't think there's a lot to share. Obviously, getting from different sites, different plans together. I mean, square footage wise, we're coming down to like trying to figure out what fits in those shapes. We would be looking right around 21,000 square feet for the police department. And again, some of that's, our big pinch points were office space for our staff. And then our biggest pinch point was evidence room for our evidence and processing the evidence, not just storage. And then our other probably high pinch point was space for staff, such as locker room space, things of that nature. So I think we're able to accommodate a lot of that with that growth, and that's something I think can bring the police department successfully into the next decade's worth of time. I always say that cautionarily because I never know what policing is going to look like in 50 years from now. We could be doing things where we need less office space or we need a lot more office space. So there's always that wild card. But I do think we're in a good position and to sit for decades to come here with the space that we're afforded. And then the infrastructure updates, I think, are greatly needed for the building. And one way I look at it, too, to answer your question earlier, is basically everything in this building would go to Hartbrook Drive, not Park, but Drive. And then fire department would obviously live still on the land that they're living in. So basically everything here just moving there, and then fire department redesigned on their current property. Easy way to kind of think of it.
Yeah, about the only thing that we're bumping up against right now is as Devin had stated, was the site plans and if they're gonna fit within that floodplain and all the floodplains that come around there. So, I know the DPW was down marking utilities the other day, and I'm pretty sure that survey is gonna be done within the next week or so, and we should find out more. If the building doesn't have to move, we're pretty much set as far as that goes. Then it's just making sure that we have the space that we're gonna need again for decades ahead. So again, not exactly knowing how it's gonna go, but yes, at some point there may be more full-time staff down the road, but that's years yet, so.
If I could just add on what Chief has said too, and we'll end up coming to the citizens to ask if this, when we get to that time frame. We did have a study done on fire, where we had a consultant come down that looks at this. This consultant's worked with Waukesha Fire, New Berlin, Pewaukee, and various other departments. But the study that was done was saying, based on the amount of people and what we run into, that and because of the dropping significantly year over year of the amount of people that come and volunteer, that the day may come where we are going to have, the day will come where we're going to have the discussion. Do we want to stay as volunteer even though it's dropping and getting more difficult for them, or does Heartland want to set themselves up that we're covered? And I don't think that'll be that far off when I say that. I think it'll happen within the next 3 years while we're going through a building process. But it's something for people in Heartland and all Heartlanders to think about. With our growth, it's important that we think about it. So, but that will be coming, because a study was done, and that was the suggestion to us is, hey, you should be a full-time with, 4 or 5 people on at all times, and having your admin staff, because those people have to be there to provide management, all the payroll and scheduling and everything, all the things they do. I'll just say all the things. But that talk will be coming. So just wanted to throw that on there also.
Yeah,
Ryan?
I just wanted to add, I know you mentioned things are slow, but to give the public an idea, we meet, all of us at this table, with Keller, with Devin, and Greg, the architect or designer. We meet for an hour every week, go over the interior, exterior. It changes every week for pinch points, things we see. We're trying to do the best with the space that we have so that it's not extravagant, that it is what we need. I think when the public gets to look at the inside, they'll see that. And we share it with all our staff, our rec department. We've moved voting rooms, we've moved rec equipment rooms. So we have worked hard to ensure that it is something that will fit over the next 50 to 75 years, but also make sense for the now. Do you have anything? Or?
Clerk, Sandy, anything you want to touch on elections and how that'll work? Based on the space, I'm guessing you're in the meetings, will those always be there, or will we still have St. Charles as a backup plan, or what's the future for
Yeah,
based on
with
the
the new
building?
space, we will be able to have all elections at Village Hall in the community room. So
Okay.
that'll be a nice thing. And yeah, as far as a backup plan, I mean, that's what we have now in place if we need to move or whatever. But all elections would be there. The storage room is a little nicer now. Right now, we are 2 rooms, one under a stairwell, and then our computer equipment's in another room, so that'll be combined. Same square footage, but some improvements that way.
Last thing I'll throw in, unless there's anything you guys want us to touch on, and I don't try to hide things, I'm just being upfront, but down the road, I don't want to get too far into this tonight. I'm just saying, if people do want to have questions, they can call me, they can call Trustee Hallquist, you can call Trustee Pfeiffer, you can call the village. Right now, I just want everybody to know, a lot of people asked about what's going to happen with this building. Library's going to stay where it's at, most likely in respect of your money. We haven't even voted on this as a board. I'm just letting you know where things seem to be leaning. There's a very good chance that this will just end up getting sold. Obviously, the village is in control with a plan commission. 2 of us are on it. Plan commission that makes sure that things are aesthetically pleasing and done properly in the village. And the village board looks out for that also. But I just wanted to at least touch on that because I know a lot of people have asked, and just say that is the way it appears to be going, to just have this just sit when there's value that can be gained from it. Personally, I don't think that's the best thing to do with, our property, considering the age of the building. And if you were to walk through this thing, especially like up in the attic and really look, I mean, it just has seen its time. But that's, again, we haven't even talked and voted on that or anything. I'm just giving an update because some people may watch this, but also for you in the room, people have asked, and I think it's important to be upfront to say that is the way that it does seem to be leaning. I know that there's emotional historical value to a lot of people, but when it comes to building strength and what this building can provide and do, there's just not a lot left on it. It's been wonderful, and it'll be wonderful in the pictures and in the memories, but it's served its purpose as a business, as a car dealership, as a police station, as a village hall. It's served its purpose. But that's just an update saying I think that's where things will go. The board hasn't voted on that or anything. Any questions from you guys? There's not a lot more to update on. We will try to keep everybody posted on our Facebook page, which our administration does keep up to date, and trying to get out there. Please don't hesitate if you ever do, if you don't already know and you want to be able to see those agendas so you just get a notification when they come out. You can do that for all the boards and commissions that we have. Feel free to contact the village if you have any trouble getting that set up. It can come to your cell phone or your email. Last chance for anything? Well, I appreciate you guys coming out. Anybody watching, thank you. Don't hesitate to call us. We will continue to keep you updated. This is the boring part where we're just going through all the slow process. It's not the exciting, like, oh my God, what's going on? So it's different than it was a month or 2 ago. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.